Hello and welcome. It's me, Percita, and this is Percitas Paradox. Welcome to today. We start our journey always first off being thankful for yet another day to be the best selves that we can be as we go into our journey of learning new and innovative ways to love ourselves as we continue on in our purpose of life. If you're new to this channel, thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate you, your time and effort in finding me today. And if you are an OG, you already know I am so grateful and thankful for you, and I appreciate you joining me yet again. All right, so now that we have all the rigmarole and all the introductions out, let's discuss our topic for today. Today, I really think it's going to be interesting to think about what happiness means and how we really reflect on it. And I came to this conclusion because I found myself listening to a song, and it's a new song. It's a great song. It's called Adulting. And the funny thing is the key first line of this verse, he starts to talk about just the idea of the things that you prayed for are exactly what you wanted, but yet you're still having a hard time and trying to figure out a way to be grateful, to be thankful. And don't get me wrong, it's not a scenario where he's saying or I'm saying that you're not in a place where you're thankful that you're growing. But what I am saying is that have you ever been, just to give you an example, have you ever been to a restaurant and you basically got your plate, and it arrived to your table and you were enjoying the thought of having this meal and you were really excited about coming, and when the food finally gets there, before you even taste it, you find yourself looking for some type of a condiment, some type of salt, pepper, something, right? Have you ever done that and then found yourself wondering, why didn't you take the time to taste it first? I mean, typically we're going into restaurants and atmospheres where food is involved and our palate is pretty clear on what we're getting. Few and far between do you order or have something that you don't really know what it is, right? But I find it interesting when we think about the idea that you don't necessarily test things out before you start to try to adjust them. I won't even say complain about them because I think that's a stretch, but before you actually just start to embrace what it is you have, you're already in some sense of feeling as if it's not enough. I feel like that when I'm telling you about this particular artist who was talking about adulting and how it's not easy because there's always this thing of you still kind of spinning your wheels to figure out what exactly it is that you have and if you're really satisfied and fulfilled with what you've prayed for, or should it have been something different? Because now, again, it's manifested, right? You have it. And you're still struggling with, do I just indulge in what I have, like this plate of food that I'm telling you about? Or are you looking for some type of a condiment or seasoning to season the food to make sure it's okay? I think it's a strong idea in our heads to try to figure out what exactly we're calling happiness and what exactly we're calling the idea of embracing the levels that we're on when we're on them. I find it hard sometimes to just envelop myself in the moment instead of trying to accomplish something, accomplishing it, and before I can even really enjoy it, I'm already moving on to the next. I mean, do you have that issue? Do you find yourself actually getting things that you want and then finding no need for them? I mean, I know a few friends that, they're shoppers. I'm also a shopper, so I can't really pin that on them to say it's just them. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, right, they shop a little harder than I do. And it's sometimes funny because we'll both have a conversation about something that we know that we want, right? It's on our wish list, whatever you want to call it. We finally get it and nobody uses it. And when I say nobody, I've actually done that with several friends where we've both bought items, not even necessarily the same item, but items that we had to have and didn't wear them, didn't use them, nothing at all. They're just collecting dust. It happens a lot with small things. It happens a lot with, little trinkety kind of things. Sometimes perfumes. I find myself going to get something and then never really finding a time to wear it. And in the back of my head, I start to wonder, am I excited and overly exuberant about the idea that I can actually attain it, or is it the item itself? And then I find myself going, what exactly is the happiness for me in it? Is it the idea that I can purchase something, or is it the usage of the item? So when I think of adulting and the fact that happiness kind of is fleeting because we tend to just not enjoy the moment, I start to wonder, what is all of that like stemming from? Could it be stemming from the idea that a lot of us are just really going through the motions to be able to acquire for that validation? And you may say, well, what does that have to do with seasoning your food? Well, it's the premise of, do you really need it? Or do you really just need the idea that you can purchase it? So, for example, do you really need the salt and the pepper in the food? It could be a health issue. It could be something where you then have some type of condition that you need to make sure you're watching your salt intake or your sugar intake, but yet you still find yourself fighting the idea or need to just enjoy the fact that you have a good meal and you don't need to add anything additional to it. Sometimes we do that because it's just what we're used to. Sometimes we don't recognize that there's different cooks who are giving us the same type of dish, but they're preparing it different ways. When I say all of those things, it manifests to me in an idea of happiness, because I think happiness is different for different people. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that my idea of happiness happens when you're happening. But what I'm also understanding, even in that statement, is sometimes even while you're happening, you're not embracing the moment to really enjoy the happening, to acquire happiness to its fullest. So when I think of things like live life authentic, and I think of the idea of what I really am trying to push on this channel in regards to making sure you're doing those things, whatever those things are, or none of those things, if that's the case, it kind of perplexes me to realize that there really is no cut, dry way to say it. It really is no right or wrong to the answer. We can definitely say, and I guess I would say, lean on the idea that happiness is something that has to be an action. But what I also understand is that the emotion that goes along with that action really has to run concurrent, because if it does not, it causes you to literally still miss out on the personal moment. Don't get me wrong, the validation with other people seeing you happening and you being the hottest in the game, or, you being in your season of greatness, for others to really be able to quantify that, that's always fantastic. Let's just be honest. We all enjoy that. But what I'm referring to are those quiet, still moments in your space, your personal space, driving in your car, when you're reflecting on who you are and what you want to be and what you think you are at that moment. Are we really embracing what happiness is for that? I tend to say that I want everyone to be in a space of being thankful and grateful and starting in that space. And that is a beautiful foundation for what we're talking about. But you still have to be in a place in your happiness to be able to quantify and qualify what it is. And it's an ever-changing idea. It's an ever-changing moment that can be overwhelming at times, because like I said, it depends on where your head is, where your mindset is with the environment that you're around, and the idea of taking the time to really assess as you're happening. So that would equate to maybe tasting the food, right? To go back to the food metaphor, and it may need some seasoning. The question still becomes, how much do you put on before you overdo it or you oversalt it? Are you conscious of the idea that you want to be in a space where you are ever changing, ever evolving, ever happy in your happiness? And it is crucial for you to just be aware of that. So, I'm still going to pose the question of, are you really tasting life? Right? Are you really enjoying what's being served to you and tweaking it as needed? Or are you simply tweaking it because it doesn't come the way you think it should? Or you're basing that on past experiences to just assume that it won't be any different? So, there's a lot to that. There's a lot to unfold and a lot to unpack and a lot to really conceptualize. So of course, as always, all these conversations are ongoing, but today I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. and just ask you, like, what exactly is your identification of what happiness is for you? What's happening in your life to create the happiness? What's happiness in your life that's creating you to be happening? It runs both ends of the spectrum. So I want you to think about that as we channel into our day-to-day mindset. As always, you are always needing to remember. See how I said that? As always, you're always needing to remember that you are absolutely everything you need to be happy. So before I end, I don't want you to think that this is something that you need to change in regards to the equipment that you have or the seasonings that you have. But I do want you to be aware that if you're not conscious of what to really add to your meal or yourself in order to create the best self you are, then happiness, even if you're happening, could be fleeting because it won't be exactly what you had the taste for. So, in saying all of that, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things. And those 3 things will always be: live life authentic, assess happiness today, figure out what that looks like and what you're doing and what you're not doing. And in that process, if you're doing it authentically, there's absolutely no way for you to not come out on top. Thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate you. Here we are in our new launch. I'm adding in some things here and there, but I'm going to take it slow because I don't want to be overwhelming to you and just kind of give you everything at one time. But do channel in every week. You're going to see a little different something here and there. And you're going to also see more videos. I may post more or less, always be conscious. So it is crucial for you to hit the notification button because I'm not going to lock myself into 2 videos a week. It could be 4, it could be 1, it could be anything, but don't miss it. The key for you is not to miss it. So as always, remember, this is the day that you can be as great as you want if you live your life authentic. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.